Hi, I wanted to let you know that I have a brand new, totally free masterclass available, and I'd love if you wanted to check it out. It's about an hour long, and it goes over 3 simple things that every dog owner needs to know in order to teach a dog quickly and easily without pain, force, a major time investment, or fancy equipment. When you register, you'll also get a free 20-page ebook all about what I call the dog training triad. You can find it at anniegrossman.com/masterclass.
And now for something completely different.
Hi, my name is Annie Grossman, and I'm a dog trainer. This podcast is brought to you by School for the Dogs, a Manhattan-based facility I own and operate along with some of the city's finest dog trainers. During this podcast, we'll be answering your questions, geeking out on animal behavior, discussing pet trends, and interviewing industry experts. Welcome to School for the Dogs podcast. Hey folks, today I just wanted to talk a little bit about one of my favorite kinds of work-to-eat toys. As you might know, if you've listened to this podcast before, we are huge fans of toys that give dogs jobs. I like to joke that we're trying to solve the canine unemployment problem. That, you know, if you can figure out a way to engage your dog's brain and body, even if it's just their tongue or their paws during meal times, that it's a really good way to channel energy that might otherwise go towards activities that you might not be that into. So there are lots of different kinds of work-to-eat toys, and one of them is, I guess, like the broad category would be called Snuffle Mats. Now, this is kind of a newer sort of work-to-eat toy. I think I first saw a Snuffle Mat maybe 5 or 6 years ago, when we first started carrying the Fleece Activity Mat, which I right away thought was like the coolest thing ever. It is a mat that is pretty heavy duty. It has snaps on it with like these components that you can snap on, and the components kind of like origami style can be folded and manipulated in different ways. They can be used separately from the mat. It's very, very cool. It also comes in this adorable little turquoise duffel bag, which I like to use for things other than the mat sometimes, just because it's cute. But it's neat because there's so many different ways you can use it, and it can travel really well. Now, Snuffle Mats in general are kind of like this. They're easy to pack, and some of them can be used in different kinds of ways, but the main component is that they're like soft, and you can hide dry food or dry treats in them in like different ways. They're not great for use with wet food. Some of them you could even hide toys in them. So anyway, the Fleece Activity Mat, I think, was my first introduction to the world of Snuffle Mats, or we sometimes also call them activity mats. And then I think I was at a trade show when I first saw the Hol-ee Snuffle Mat, and the Hol-ee is a much simpler product. It kind of just looks like a bath mat, like a bath mat with like a really plush bath mat with these long tendrils. It's gray. One thing I like about Snuffle Mats is they make me think of Snuffle Up, I guess, who was my favorite character on Sesame Street, and the Woolly probably looks most like Snuffle Up, I guess, except gray. Easy to clean. We use them all the time at school for the dogs. You can throw it into the washing machine. And the Woolly is most similar to the kinds of Snuffle Mats that we sometimes make ourselves at school for the dogs, and which I often suggest people make. I'm going to talk a little bit about DIY Snuffle Mats in a minute. I just wanted to run through some of the ones out there. The most recent kind of Snuffle Mat that I've discovered and that we sell at school for the dogs is the Fleece Activity Mat. These come in a few different sizes, and they're basically pieces of fleece that have other pieces of fleece sewn onto them in different configurations, so that you can hide yummy stuff in the little nooks and crannies. Also super easy to wash and to travel with. I'm a big fan, and actually I use these to entertain my 19-month-old daughter too. Hide Cheerios in them, and she gets lots of entertainment from them. So the Snuffle Mats I've been mentioning are ones that we sell at storeforthedogs.com, but you can totally make your own Snuffle Mat, and it can be something super simple, or it can be something a little bit more complex. Now, on the more complex side of things, if you're into sewing, you can make your own version of one of these fleece activity mats. Fleece is great for this because it can wash really well. It's pretty inexpensive. You can cut it, and you don't really need to sew the seams. It's not going to fray. So you can go crazy making different shapes and kind of emulating one of these commercially made Snuffle Mats. There's actually someone on Etsy who is making some beautiful homemade fleece Snuffle Mats. The store's name is DogNmat, DOGNMAT, I believe, and their handmade Snuffle Mats are just super cute. They have ones that look like tacos, and one that looks like a sushi roll, one that looks like a picnic blanket with these little things sewn onto it, made out of fleece that you can hide treats in. You don't have to make anything that elaborate, but it's certainly pretty adorable. You can also make a no-sew Snuffle Mat with strips of fleece, or even just strips of rags, old t-shirts, that kind of thing, tying them onto something. It could be something flat, I've made them using that kind of industrial kitchen rubber mat that you can get at our hardware store. They have big holes in them, and you can just tie big strips of fleece to that to make something really lush that you can then hide treats in. You can also use the kind of rubber thing that you put in a sink to keep cups from breaking, that might have holes in it, or plastic, or you can get metal ones of those. Same idea. If you have a dog who tends to chew through things, I wouldn't suggest using any of these rubber options, since they're not meant to be chewed on, and you don't want your dog chewing off pieces. You could also get burlap and thread pieces of rags through the burlap. I have also used colanders, or the inner part of a salad spinner, to tie pieces of rag or whatever to that, and make kind of a snuffle bowl. You can do the same thing with something like a milk crate. Tie pieces in so that like the whole inside of the milk crate is like full of spaces to hide stuff. They're basically, it's basically like you're creating kind of rugs that your dog has permission to snuffle and snarfle in. My favorite like super easy homemade Snuffle Mat is probably just getting a mop head and throwing that on the ground with some treats on it. Obviously not like a sponge mop head, but like the kind, like the long stringy type of mop head can make a really good Snuffle Mat. And in a pinch, if you're on the road or something, you can usually find these at supermarkets or drugstores. Lastly, I wanted to talk about the Destructo ball, which is kind of a similar idea. Destructo balls are actually I just found someone selling these on Etsy too, although it's certainly something you can make yourself. You use one of the Hol-ee Roller toys, which we have in our online shop. They are like, they're made by JW Pet. They're like these rubber balls that are holy. They have holes all around them, and those are great for like stuffing with fabric. Like you can take fabric, basically roll some treats up in the fabric and then stuff the fabric in the toy, and do that until the toy, which they come in different sizes, but usually I like using one that's like, I think it's like the large or the extra large, like maybe 8 inches wide. Just stuff that full of these treats wrapped up in rags. And if you have a dog like my dog who loves, skinning tennis balls and pulling things apart, pulling the stuffing out of toys, that's a really kind of nice Snuffle Mat type option for those pups. So if you have experimented with work to eat toys, I think that you will really like using a Snuffle Mat with your dog. If you haven't tried one yet, would love to know what your dog thinks of it. Feel free to reach out. DMing us on School for the Dogs on Instagram is a good way to do that. We're just at School for the Dogs. And I am going to leave it there. I will talk to you guys next week. Thanks so much for listening. You can support School for the Dogs podcast by subscribing, leaving a 5-star review, telling your friends, and shopping in our online store. Learn more about School for the Dogs and sign up for lots of free training resources on our website, schoolforthedogs.com.